Hello everyone, Dan Lucas here from Credo, and welcome to day 3 of our 50 states in 50 days. And today we're going to do the third state admitted to the Union, and that would be, of course, New Jersey. It was admitted December 18th, 1787, 6 days after Pennsylvania, which we did yesterday. Alright, so New Jersey has a lot of tax incentives, a lot of sort of grant programs. I mean, it looks like there's just a lot of public programs or government programs that businesses can take advantage of. A lot of them seem very esoteric, sort of complicated, so diving into these things is way beyond scope of what we're doing here on this video. And because they have so many, I actually had to kind of go through and just select certain ones that might be relevant to anybody watching this. I mean, there's a lot of things that are just really, 99.99% chance won't have anything to do with anybody here. But I will say overall, if you're in New Jersey, there are so many incentives going on there that you probably want to take a second look at if you've never looked at it, okay? A lot of it has to do with environmental stuff, remediation, things like that, helping the environment, creating jobs, preventing jobs from leaving the state of New Jersey, et cetera, et cetera. So a lot of it seems to be a little bit on the blue-collar side, but there's a variety of them. But I picked out the ones that I thought would be most relevant for what we're trying to accomplish here on these videos. So one, they have an angel investor credit, and some of these other states have had these. Not all states have them, but if you are investing in something with emerging technologies or a startup, et cetera, and they're in New Jersey, or you're a New Jersey taxpayer, something you're going to want to look into. They have a Business Retention and Relocation Assistance Act, and this does give you a grant of tax credits, and you have to preserve jobs that are currently in New Jersey, and they might have some sort of threat, or they might be in danger of relocating outside of New Jersey, and so that's what this is for. So if you think that you might have something in that area, you might want to look into that one. They have the Effluent Equipment Tax Credit. It's not Affluent Equipment Tax Credit, that is Effluent, EFFLUENT Equipment Tax Credit, and it looks like there's certain equipment you can purchase that you use to it's for reuse in the industrial process. If you have some sort of industrial business, or if you're controller of an industrial business, etc., might be something you want to look into. Next they've got the Film Production and Digital Media Tax Credit. Assuming that's very similar to film credits in other states. It's basically it gives you a credit for the qualified film production expenses paid during that period of time, or production. So basically, if you're doing any sort of film production, I think one thing that people don't realize is that sometimes if they're making commercials or things on digital media, et cetera, sometimes that can qualify for film production credits. And you need to look into your state and see, or you need to look into your state or New Jersey, if you live in New Jersey, to see if you might qualify for something like that. But that goes for any state, really. I mean, if you are really doing any sort of filming or spending money on video production, et cetera, you might be surprised. You might actually qualify for some of these credits, and oftentimes these credits can be pretty valuable, pretty big credits. Let's see. They've also got the Manufacturing Equipment and Employment Investment Tax Credit. This is really a credit for the acquisition of manufacturing equipment in New Jersey, and it's really geared towards small businesses, smaller dollar amounts, companies with 50 or fewer employees. So if you have a smaller kind of business that's in manufacturing and you're buying equipment, it's definitely one you want to look into. Again, that's the Manufacturing Equipment and Employment Investment Tax Credit. They've got the Neighborhood Revitalization State Tax Credit, and this is really a taxpayer that gives financial assistance to a non-profit sponsor, and you can get a certificate that gives you a tax credit, which you can use to offset a tax liability. So that might be something worth looking into if you think you've done something in that area. There's the Redevelopment Authority Project Tax Credit, And that's basically if you're a taxpayer and you're engaged in the conduct of business at a certain location as defined by other New Jersey statutes and codes. And if your business consists primarily of manufacturing or another business that is not retail sales or warehousing oriented, you might be able to get a redevelopment authority project tax credit. This one to me seemed like a lot of people probably get it. It's a smaller credit and it seems pretty general. So if you're doing any sort of manufacturing, I would look into it because it looks like you can get like $1,500 or even it looks like $3,000 per new employee. So that's definitely one worth taking a look at. We have the remediation credit, and this has to do with like a contaminated site. If you get in somewhere where you fix something, or I know a lot of people, especially in the northern part of the United States, they have to do certain environmental things. It becomes more of an issue up there. If they move into or buy a building, buy a piece of land, move into a building, that kind of thing. Sometimes you might have a lease where you're responsible for some of this kind of stuff, or maybe you do some of this stuff on your own. But if you spend any money on this to make the environment better, I would look into this one and just see if you qualify. Again, that's called the remediation credit. Next is they've got the R&D credit, the research and development tax credit. Again, if you're doing things that are, creating a system, creating a process, doing something to take your business from A to B, it's really a big investment you're making for the future. Just look into it. I mean, there's a lot of things that qualify. I would always err on the side of maybe it qualifies versus no, it definitely doesn't qualify. Again, don't think of it as just being, research and development, like you think about medicine, medical science, or you think about technology or something like that. You can broaden your scope and what might qualify in there. Take a look at it, but those credits are typically pretty big credits, and it looks like the R&D credit in New Jersey is very similar to the federal one as far as qualifications. So, or you might have gotten the federal R&D credit and you're in New Jersey and you haven't gotten the state one, so you might be able to go back and get the state one. Okay, there's a small New Jersey-based high technology business investment tax credit. That's a mouthful. This is basically, anything high technology business, and you're giving them funds to get them going, get them off the ground, et cetera, et cetera. Take a look at that. Sounds a little bit similar to the angel investor tax credit. I don't know if you can put these on top of each other for one, but if you don't qualify for the angel credit, you might qualify for this one, okay? All right, we have the sheltered workshop tax credit, and basically if you've hired somebody that's handicapped and you have a sheltered workshop, you might be able to claim this credit. Credit looks like it's pretty easy to get if you've done something like that, but it doesn't exceed $1,000 per person. It's not a huge credit, but it might be an easy one. Okay, now you've got these urban enterprise zone credits, and there's a lot of these. One of them would be an employee tax credit. So basically, if you're in one of these urban enterprise zones and you've hired people, you can get credits for hiring people. You can also get credits for investing in your business that's in an urban enterprise zone. So basically, if you're in an urban enterprise zone, or if you're not sure, look it up, because if you are, you're probably missing a lot of credits, okay? And it could be in multiple areas. So look up the urban enterprise zone and see if you're in one and if you qualify for any tax credits. And if you do, then take a deeper dive into some of these exact credits. Some are for spending money on the business, some are for spending money on employees, okay? Now, believe it or not, they have one called the Urban Enterprise Zone Impacted Business District. Now, this credit is if people are doing a lot of these urban enterprise zones companies around you, or ones that are qualified for that. It says if you're negatively impacted by two adjacent urban enterprise zones, you can get tax credits. Okay, so if they put so in other words, what it looks like is that if the government of New Jersey puts these urban enterprise zones around you and you're adjacent to two of them, I'd have to dig into that to get a lot more specifics on that, but you might qualify for tax credit. So even if you're not in a zone, check and see if you might be in the middle of some, or if there's some around you, because you might get credits just for that. I've never seen a credit, of course I haven't done all the 50 states yet, But up to this time, I've never seen a credit that basically says, hey, we're going to give credits for these zones in these areas. And if you happen to be next to them and it affects you negatively, we'll give you a credit for that too. Okay, so you can tell that New Jersey is really aggressive about keeping businesses, commerce, jobs in New Jersey. Okay, so there's a lot of credits in that area. So if you're doing business in New Jersey, you need to look at tax credits, as far as what I can see in my experience. Okay, there's a lot there, and there's a lot of incentives that they want to keep people in New Jersey, from what I can tell. All right, that's it for New Jersey. Like I said, there's a ton of stuff going on in New Jersey with tax credits, way more than I anticipated. A lot of them are pretty simple, a lot of them are pretty basic, but there's a lot of stuff that's very esoteric. So if you are in New Jersey and you're hiring people, or you're investing in your business, et cetera, please look up tax credits, because there's a ton. And if you think you might qualify for something, challenge us, let us learn something new, because I'd love to dig into one of these, but I can't dig into all of them, and I don't want to do it if there's no payoff. There's only a payoff if it helps somebody specifically. So if you have a question on it, or if you have any comments on it, please put that in the comments section, respond to it. So post questions, put comments, try to help other people. Every comment you put in there is going to help someone else. Every question you put in there is going to help someone else and make us all smarter. So the more we communicate, the more we share on this, the more we can all take advantage of these tax credits, okay? All right, so now I have got to stop thinking about tax credits, and I'm going to go get some exercise, but I'll be back tomorrow, and we will talk about more tax credits. All right, thanks. Have a great day. Bye-bye.